Hello, everyone. This is Henry Schneider with the Business Performance Podcast. And today it's my pleasure to speak with Yusuf Ujjainwala, who's just started a brand new enterprise here last week after a long career in IT. So I'm sure he's got some very interesting stories to tell us today. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Henry.
Sure. So to begin with, I guess, start off, you only started with CMIT for about a week, but could you briefly describe the company, the customers, and the types of products and services you provide?
So this is an IT managed services provider. And what we typically do is we help the small and medium businesses locally in the community. And the small and medium businesses will be defined as, a business that has about 5 to maybe 50 employees or so. These businesses don't have their own IT department. They generally are either they either have an existing managed service provider, or they're just making it happen by using someone that they know, a relative or a friend or someone who's technical enough to provide them some limited IT services on the side. These are typically our clients. And the services we provide they start with managing their end user devices. So your desktops, your laptops, any mobile devices like tablets, cell phones, and then also their servers or file storage that they might have for their data. So just monitoring these devices and then managing them to make sure they stay up to date with software, with the operating system version, any antivirus, and making sure they stay online and finding about any outage before the customers do, and even remotely fixing them as much as possible. That's the first core service. And then in addition to that, there are services like backing up and helping them recover if they have any kind of a data problem or a disaster kind of a situation. That's backup and recovery. If they need professional email, if they need any cloud services like sharing of files and so on. Also, if they need a phone system, if they need to purchase any hardware. One of the biggest things now is cybersecurity, so helping them with a firewall, helping them protect their data, helping them detect any kind of a hack, as actually preventing the hacks first, and then if there is a hack detected, quickly finding it and protecting them before any damage is done. And then also educating their employees about how to stay away or prevent the phishing attacks or the new kind of attacks, the phishing attacks. So those are services around IT that my company provides to these small and medium businesses.
All right. So what is your position then? Are you actually doing this, or do you have other resources that help you out, or how does that work?
So right now, as I start, I am my single employee. But as I acquire my first customer or maybe a couple of customers, I will be growing my team. So I'll be hiring technicians. I'll be hiring a service delivery manager so that I can, directly take care of my customers.
Okay.
Now, there are certain things that are provided by the franchise as a whole. That's where the parent company comes in. That's where the home office comes in. So they have set up the back end systems so that when I get my customer, after I do my technical assessment and understand their needs, when I onboard them onto our services based on what they need, a lot of back-end systems are set up. So, for example, we have a network operations center that is set up nationally. We have a help desk that is set up nationally if the clients do need a help desk for their employees.
Okay.
So there are a lot of things set up. Plus, there are systems and processes set up for every franchisee to use to run their business.
Okay.
So your back end systems like the CRM system, your accounting system, the ticketing system, all these are set up and all the best practices are established so that I don't have to figure out things from scratch.
Okay. Well, great. So having talked with prospective clients now, what is the importance of quality of your service to those clients?
That's our biggest selling point and differentiator. We want to make sure that, number one, we resolve the pain points of our clients. And once we onboard them, once we sell anything, we make sure the onboarding process is as smooth as possible and the quality of our service is the highest in the market as benchmarked against the other MSP.
Okay, thank you. So, as you talk to people about CMIT's services, what are one or two of the biggest myths or misconceptions when it comes to what you're trying to deliver to people?
Typically, people call us for things like, hey, my computer is slow, my network is not performing, I've been hacked, I lost my data. So generally, it's more reactive situation when customers call us. But what we try to explain to people, when we help them resolve the problems, is it is more important to be proactive about your system. If you depend on technology to run your business, then it's important that you are one step ahead and you are able to prevent the downtime. Right? So that's the biggest thing we explain, and then help our customers to change the equation and see how they can use the technology to gain more of their customers and add to the revenue versus thinking of it as a cost and being more reactive.
Yeah. So what are some of the common fears that you encounter from your customers about these technology issues?
There are a lot of unknowns, especially in the security area where customers are a bit afraid of what it means, what a cyber attack means, and what a hack means. So those are the things they are worried about, but they don't know what to do in order to handle that, right? And then there is also a fear about cost. They they think it's very costly because they've talked to people who give them bigger numbers for giving them a one-off solution.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the kind of things that the customers are worried about,
Yeah.
afraid about.
Yeah, definitely. Then we've got the dark web. I'm getting notifications now. They're finding my credentials have been sold in the dark web. And how do you how do you address those types of fears?
Exactly. So we explain to them what exactly it means, and in certain situations we also run a check on their domain to see if there has already been a compromise, and what kind of data there is on the dark web about their domain, about their employees, and just kind of at least make them aware of that. And then at the same time, we make them aware of the services that would help keep them safe, from those kind of attacks. And at the same time, if an attack does happen, in spite of the layers of security that we have employed for them, then we immediately are able to detect that and immediately expel the intruder.
Yeah.
And again, make the environment safe for them.
So, were you involved in doing similar types of services when you were at Dell and then General Motors?
I worked with the networking teams, the hardware teams, the server provisioning teams. Myself, I have been an expert on the software side.
Okay. So
my main expertise was not on the hardware.
okay.
I'm aware of all the terms and everything. So to be honest, I haven't actually dealt directly with the hardware side of IT.
Okay.
So that's where my intention is to leverage my technicians, hire the right people, and have them accompany me
Mhm.
when I do the technical assessments, and then whenever there's a direct problem where a technician is needed, use a technician.
So this is more of a career
Handle those.
broadening move for you then.
Sorry?
This is more of a career broadening move for you to go from software expanding out into hardware.
Yeah, I mean, I chose this particular business more for true relationship building, and getting a chance to work with the business owners, and being an advisor to them.
Okay.
Not so much to directly do the technical work.
Yeah. So just thinking back then to your career at General Motors, which you were there for 3 years basically, could you share a story of how you helped GM as the IT manager and overcome some obstacles and be successful?
Yeah, definitely. So when I joined GM, my first responsibility there was to take an application that General Motors uses to record and solve any kind of issue to the different models that are about to be launched. There's a 3-year cycle. I think that's true with most of the auto manufacturers. So before a particular car, a vehicle is launched, it goes through a 3-year cycle, starts from the engineering design, and then the prototype, then some limited manufacturing, and then it goes through a lot of quality checks, a lot of tests before it finally comes to the point where they decide to go ahead with the launch. So in that entire cycle, they use this application to record issues, and then there is a workflow. There's a collaboration that happens among various people, the engineers, the quality assurance team, the actual people out there driving the vehicles. There's a feedback loop. So this application served as a tool for people to collaborate and record the issues, investigate the issues, then have the work orders to do the fixes, then have a test and feedback loop to verify the problem is resolved. This was across all the GM lines and vehicles and model years and so on. So that was my first thing. It's an in-house application. It was initially started before GM insourced IT, and then it was taken up by the new insourced IT team. And there were fixes to be done, there were enhancements to be done. The biggest problem was the performance of the application. It wasn't working well outside of US. Just didn't perform as well. The response was not as good. Started with those issues, and then also I had a team which was fairly new. We started with a lot of new college hires. So mentoring them, bringing the team together, improving the bonding among the team members, and then, setting up some goals and setting up the vision, having the team march towards the goals, and then show the improvements to my internal customer who is a business partner. So that's how my journey began.
Mm-hmm.
And, we started improving and getting the confidence of our customer. And then, from there on, we had more projects to make enhancements and bring the application into the modern era.
Uh-huh. So what would you consider to be the moral of that story?
There were definitely things there which I had learned from past experience and was able to employ immediately. Especially working with the business partners and, making sure I listen to them and we address their most important concerns and gain that confidence, right? Make sure we do what we say and keep our promises.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that I had already learned in my career, which I got to employ. There were a lot of new things too that I learned while being at General Motors. This was my first job where I had the HR. I had direct employees who were reporting to me.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So enjoyed that. There were a lot of things that I always wanted to do, which I had heard and read, but hadn't had the opportunity to actually execute. So there was a lot of fun there, especially mentoring the younger people, which I always wanted to do.
Yeah, so it sounds like setting expectations and working closely with people to make certain they stay aligned so you can get better results.
Yeah. I mean, certainly there were a couple of courses that General Motors ran to help new managers, and they were very helpful too. I mean, the biggest thing was getting the 360-degree feedback after about a year or so to understand the areas that I'm good at, the areas, some of the actions, that would make me better as a manager, with the feedback. So, enjoyed that, lot of fun, reviewing all that and understanding, from the company that offered, there was an external company, they showed the data, not just within GM, but across the board based on their plans. So a lot of learning there helped me set some goals based on the feedback and based on their best practices and information that they could provide. So
yeah,
it's pretty good.
I find that very interesting. Many years ago, I guess it was back around 2000, I was on a contract at GM up in Detroit, where they were working on what they called SDP 21, which was their standard development process. They were trying to level it across all the divisions. And that was a major job. We were having a tough time with that.
Interesting. Yeah. So you worked on the manufacturing side, or?
Yeah, we looked at, we were looking at the different plants. We looked at Pontiac. We looked at truck.
Okay.
But there was all the different aspects. Some of the manufacturing systems, some was like the IT systems, etc. So just trying to get all the requirements to get everybody lined up so we could have some decent processes. And that was a big challenge. And this was before they declared bankruptcy.
Oh, okay. So this is prior to 2008.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
So, can you care to share your background? You started out, you said you graduated from college, and your first job was in Mumbai, and that thing with British Telecom, and eventually you found your way to the United States. So, you can kind of briefly tell us your journey through your career.
Yeah, certainly. So I got my computer science or computer technology in the college I did in Mumbai. It's pretty competitive out there, and I felt blessed getting into the engineering college. There was just two at the time, which were public, meaning low cost, and only one of them offered electronics and computer science. The other one only had the traditional engineering, meaning mechanical and civil and electrical. So I felt really lucky to get into the engineering college that I did. And after that, the standard process of campus interviews, they had pretty good placement programs. So I got into a company. The IT consulting companies were coming up during that time. It was kind of a relatively new concept. Most companies would partner up with one of the Western companies, right, US or the UK, and that's what this company did. It was, the parent company was Mahindra and Mahindra, the company that makes Jeeps.
Yeah. Okay.
And tractors in India, and they formed the IT consulting company by partnering with British Telecom. So it
No.
was Mahindra British Telecom, or MBT at the time. And yeah, that was my first job off campus. And they mainly had clients in the US and in the UK through their alliance with British Telecom. So I remember one of the first projects that I worked in Mumbai was for Lehman Brothers.
Ah, okay.
And you know what happened to him, right?
Yeah.
During the financial crisis. So yeah, I always remember that. What we were doing was we were removing the hard-coded currency conversions that they had in their computer systems. So they actually had the hard-coded multipliers for different currencies, like the Italian lira and Japanese yen and so on. And what we did was we removed that and made it more data-driven, so that you don't have to go into the code every time the currency changes, the multiplier changes. I still remember that. That was one of the early projects I did. And then 1 year down the line, they sent me to UK, town Ipswich, not too far from Cambridge, about 1.5 hours train ride from London. So that's where I was working on British Telecom's internal projects. It was a system where they reviewed their exchanges and made determination on how to allocate resources. So that was the project, and this one was on at that time on the mainframe side, with the IBM mainframes, and technology was what was used on the mainframe side at that time. So was there doing that, did that for about a year until I found an opportunity out here in the US, in Columbia, South Carolina, the power company. So it was another consulting company in southern India that employed me and then brought me into Schneider, the client. So basically, I was working really for Schneider, but then all the paperwork and administration was done by this consulting company. So that's how I came in here. And after about a year or so, I found, maybe a couple of years or so, I found a more modern kind of platform to work on rather than mainframe. I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. And in there, that's how I came into the supply chain area. We wrote software for warehouse management system and transportation management system and labor management system. It was a true software shop that worked with a parent company in the UK, and these particular systems were then installed at different manufacturers and retailers. It's a pretty fun line of job. I enjoyed it. About 5 years or so I worked there. Along with that, I got my part-time business degree, MBA,
Okay.
at UNC Charlotte. So that was a lot of fun. That introduced me to areas outside of engineering, finance, accounting, and operations, marketing, sales. So I had a lot of fun. I had good networking with my peers. Did a lot of business cases, and that's when I first felt, hey, one day I'll start something on my own. And now
Wow.
I have some business background, so that's what put the seed in my mind. But as far as the immediate action goes, after I finished my business, the company that I was working for got acquired by another company out of Wisconsin, and that brought a lot of you know uh, changes, and a little bit brought down the morale of the people at the office, and I felt this was a
Oh,
good opportunity to look outside and find something else. That's where I found this opportunity at Dell and moved to Austin.
okay. So,
Then at Dell, it was a long journey.
yes. So, over that long time, what defining moment did you that inspired you to really pursue your career with IT?
Um, e- Explain the question one more time, Henry.
Okay.
You mean IT as in what I'm doing with CMIT, or IT as in what I did
Well, just in general,
for software development?
think about, over the course of your life, was there a defining moment or an epiphany that said, yeah, this is what I need to do with my career and where I want to go?
I think that happened when I decided to major in computer technology or computer science. When I was growing up, in school and high school, I was always detail oriented. I always loved to get into details. I loved math. I loved physics.
Mhm.
So based on that, and when I was growing up, I would tell my parents and teachers that I want to be a pilot.
Ah.
uh, so I remember when I did my school counseling, they said, you might have a little trouble becoming a pilot, because at that time there wasn't LASIK or anything, right? Technology was a little, not as developed as far as your vision goes. And I already had my eyeglasses, so
Ah, yeah.
they said, hey, you might find a problem there. It might be an obstacle. I said, okay, all right then. In that case, I want to be an engineer.
That
So
could,
I wanted to go into engineering, and then when it came time to get into college, a good friend of mine said, "Man, technology is going to be really big in the next decade." So I was thinking of going into electronics, but we discussed, and he convinced me that computers or computer science is going to be better than electronics. And yeah, that makes full sense. That's how I got into computers. And after that, I always liked software more than hardware as I was going through
okay.
college.
Very good.
Enjoyed doing the labs and building programs and so on. So rather than opening up a computer and trying I mean, we did that as well as part of the courses, but I always enjoyed the software part more. I felt it was so much more powerful
Mhm.
than doing the circuits. So
Okay. All right.
that's the reason.
And in a similar way, could you share an experience that you had early on in your life that still influences how you approach business today?
My My biggest thing is, I like to be organized and, get into the details and do a lot of research. I mean, you're familiar with disc profiles, Henry?
Yeah.
You are? Yeah, I mean, I am an SC. I am, I am more into details, more stable. So that's basically, how I look at business too.
Mm-hmm.
Just making sure you have the services that are going to solve the problems for the customer, right? And then going into the detail, making sure everything is taken care of. Building that plan for the customer and saying, all right, here's your plan. This is when we start. This is when we'll finish, and then going into the different line items and executing the plan
Mm-hmm.
as we promised.
Okay.
So that's how I approach business. That's how I look at it.
Okay.
And
So
that's how I did as a job too. When I was working, that's how I would handle our internal customers.
sure. So given that you've only been with CMIT for a short period of time, this may not be a real fair question, but what does success look like for you with CMIT? What do you define as being successful?
Yeah, that was one of the first things we did in training, right? So basically, defining our core values, our core focus, a 10-year target, marketing strategy, and going down to a 3-year picture, a 1-year plan, and then a quarter or a quarterly plan.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, our core values are that character and integrity come first before everything else. Then professional excellence.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make sure we are exceptional at what we do. Then a can-do attitude, and results matter. So we do what we promise, right, and complete it. The other two things are, we are very collaborative. That's a big thing about this franchise. The franchisees don't compete with each other, and we build the same collaborative attitude with our employees. So that's going to be the biggest thing when I hire. And then lastly, humble and willing to learn. So yeah, we are good at what we do, but that doesn't mean we know everything and we're not going to learn. That's those are the core values.
Okay, wonderful.
And you already know the purpose, right? Our
Sure.
purpose in one sentence is helping businesses build and maintain competitive advantage.
Okay.
That's what we are all about.
All right. So if I was your customer, what would be the most important question that I should be asking you about in order for me to consider using CMIT?
Yeah, I mean, our biggest thing is, we are here to serve the needs of the customer and solve their pain points. We are not trying to get every customer out there. We don't claim to be able to help everyone out there that comes to us, right? So when I go to my customer, my main purpose is to listen to them, understand their pain points, understand what it's costing them, and then once I've really, really taken time to understand and understand their pain points deeply, then I look at my services and see what is it that I can provide, and is that the right value for them? If it's not, I'll be very upfront and tell my customers, sorry, we are not a great fit, but I might be able to give them some referral. And if I am able to help them with their pain points, then that's what I present back to them.
Okay. And in a similar vein, what is the most important thing your customers should consider when evaluating CMIT against your competitors?
It's basically our biggest differentiator is making sure we provide the highest quality, and then we resolve their pain points the best we can.
Okay.
So those are the two things that are most important. Now, while we do this, we also make sure we do at a price that's affordable to the small and medium businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives them more value than what they pay us. Right? So those are the things I would encourage my customers to compare when they are evaluating some proposals or when they're talking to other providers.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Now, how can someone get in contact with you to learn more about you and your experiences, or learn more about CMIT?
So I'm doing several things. That's exactly why I wanted to meet you, and I want to meet with a lot of other people. So I am going to be meeting with a lot of business owners in the area, and just introducing myself, trying to learn more about them, trying to learn how I can get in touch with other folks like them. Where do they go to network and interact? So that's one stream. The other stream is that I having provided with a list. My home office has done a good bit of work on this, provide me with a business list in the area. So I'll be reaching out to them. I also have a website. I have a Facebook page for my company. I have a LinkedIn page. So I'll be reaching out through those avenues as well.
Uh-huh.
And then finally, I'm considering using some marketing help to reach out via more traditional means, like phone calls or direct mailing and things like that. So
So what
slowly
is
working through that, but yeah.
So what is your website address?
My website is cmitsolutions.com/Austin-East.
Okay. Wonderful. And then you said you have a Facebook page as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do we find you on Facebook?
Yeah, the Facebook page is just called CMIT Solutions of Austin East. Mm-hmm. So if you search that, you'll get to the Facebook page. The actual URL, as they call it, the address, is pretty long, the way Facebook does it. Yeah. But I just ask people to this.
Okay.
Just look up CMIT Solutions of Austin East, and it's pretty quick that way.
Okay. And what about email?
My email is the first letter of my first name, that's Y, and then the last name spelled out completely. So Y Ujjainwala @cmitsolutions.com.
Oh, okay. Okay, wonderful. Okay, thank you so much for your time this afternoon, Yusuf. It was a fascinating story. Really enjoyed talking with you.